Mother, tell your children not to walk my way. Tell your children not to hear.
Hello all, and welcome, as the title said, to my review of WWE's Cyber Sunday, the pay-per-view that was, of course, this last Sunday. For those of you that don't know, this is actually one of my kind of favorite pay-per-views they do every year. I like the concept of this. I think it adds a little bit of drama to the matches, and I think people are willing to turn in and maybe order the pay-per-view just simply to see how people voted. So I like this idea. I think it's a good concept, and I think it comes off pretty well, in my opinion. The only thing that I don't like about Cyber Sunday, and I'll talk about this now instead of later, is I think they need to change the way they do the voting, and then I think they need to do the first week of programming leading up to the pay-per-view, have the majority of the matches on there, such as, have all of the matches laid out. You used to do this during the Monday Night Wars. Both WCW and WWE would do this. After the first week, you pretty much knew what the pay-per-view was going to be. And have it set up that way so then when the fans go on, they said they had 13 million fans. Somehow I don't think all 13 million fans voted on every match. Let them vote on all the matches. And I think that if you use that as a guide to see kind of what fans want to see, if that number is even close to being accurate, it gives you a better idea of what the fans want to see. Just my opinion, just a little thing I would change about Cyber Sunday. But let's get started here. We started with Finlay versus Ray, and the fans could choose between a stretcher match, a shillelagh on a stick match, and a street fight. The fans picked a stretcher match, which kind of surprised me, but I guess people like stretcher matches. I'm not too big on them myself. And this was a pretty good match. These two worked pretty well together. They had everything set up, so the shillelagh on the stick was actually up there, so part of the match was them fighting over the shillelagh so they could kill each other with it, which is pretty cool. There was some good spots, some good brawling, this was just a good overall match. I'd give this 2 3/4 stars. Thought this was a good way to open up the show. The fans were somewhat into it, so pretty good stuff. They then announced that Matt, because of his injury, and if you see the pay-per-view, they show Matt's face. He looks pretty bad. You're like, God, there's no way he's wrestling tonight. Wouldn't take on MVP, but the fans could go on the internet and they could vote for Khali, Mark Henry, or Kane to face MVP for the Intercontinental title, which would be later that night. And kind of a nice little segment, and showed MVP being the cowardly heel that he's supposed to be. Then they showed the first segment for the Diva Halloween contest, which I would much rather have done this whole segment on ECW. I think it would have came off better this week, but they wanted to do this. I wish they would have taken this time and given it to a match or something else, because this just didn't work for me. I thought this was kind of stupid in a lot of ways. Even though they started off good because they had Maria dressed up as a cat, which works very well, and she actually does a very good purr as well. And then Victoria was dressed up in a sumo outfit, and they had Kenny dressed up as Mr. Fuji, which was pretty funny. And then Ron Simmons came out and did the damn thing, and that was one of the highlights. There was a couple of highlights with this, and this is one of those segments where I would say this is what shows where the WWE creative staff is good at, particularly the non-wrestling guys, because parts of this were actually kind of funny. I think would have been even funnier on ECW. Then we had the CM Punk match, and you could pick between John Morrison, The Miz, and Big Daddy V. And the fans surprisingly picked Miz. And what was even more surprisingly, this wasn't a bad, horrible match either. CM Punk kind of carried Miz to for a decent match. I liked this actually. I thought this was pretty good. There was a couple of flubs, but nothing too major. I definitely give this 2 1/4 stars. I thought this was pretty interesting. I liked this more than I think other people did, but I enjoyed it. I thought they went out there and they did a pretty good job, and they actually gave them more time than I thought they would too. So heads off to whoever booked that segment, because I think they actually did a pretty good job. Then they walked out, and Mickie James was dressed, or they went back to the back and they did more diva stuff, and they had Mickie James dressed up as an Indian, and looked pretty good as an Indian. And then they had Tori as a football player, which didn't come off very good at all. Then they announced in the middle of this, they announced who would take on Randy Orton, and that whoever wasn't picked to face, that Randy Orton would then take on each other in a match. So it was found out that HBK, in a landslide, but I don't think anyone was surprised by that, would take on Orton, and that Mr. Kennedy and Jeff Hardy would take on each other in a non-intercontinental title match. This match was good, but this match was okay, but their match on Raw was better in my opinion. Even though I still kind of like this. I give this 2.5 stars, but it was just kind of there. I don't think they were given pretty much time to really do more than what they could have been on Raw, which kind of irks me because this should have been better than the match they had on Raw. Just my opinion. Or they should have been given enough time to go out there and do what they could have done on Raw. But and this was an okay match. Then we had McCool was a bad, very stupid looking Eve, and Molina looked very good as a Vegas showgirl. Came out very nice. I like that. Was my early favorite to win this thing. Then we had a JBL Vote For Me kind of political spin-off video that was very funny, and hopefully it gets uploaded somewhere because it was very nice, showing, you know, he was this upstanding kind of citizen, and that you know, he didn't have to pull a gun on his boss to, and then they showed Austin pulling a gun on Vince to get up into the main event, and Mick Foley had to fall off a house to get in the main event, and JBL never had to do that. It was pretty cool stuff. And then we had the MVP match, and Kane won apparently. They came out. They had pretty much the worst match of the night. Even though I was kind of digging it, there was some good psychology. They were working on each other's ribs. Pretty nice, but it ended in a countout. No pay-per-view should end in a countout, particularly a title match. This was stupid in my opinion. I would give this 1 3/4 stars because I did like what was going on in the match. I just didn't like how it ended. It was a stupid finish. Blah. Then we got a new Save Us vid, which was very cool. Then we got more divas. We got Leela as a horrible bad cop, and we got Kelly as a lame gangster, pretty much to show off her new boobs, I guess. Then we got the HBK versus Orton match. This was going on as a great match. They were doing some ground and pound, but that was okay, kind of just to the strengths. But you know, HBK came out here. This pay-per-view was just kind of there at this point, and HBK came out there, tried to save the pay-per-view, was doing a very good job. Then the ending happened, and it was a DQ ending with Orton lowballing HBK deliberately. This was stupid. There is better, you know, this was the match you wanted, WWE, and then you book it like this. This is stupid. If you wanted it to be a screwjob ending, there are 500 better screwjob endings than a deliberate DQ. Okay, there really is. There's tons of better stuff than this. I don't know why we were stuck with this, but we were. I'd give this 2 3/4 stars. This was a very good match up until the ending. Then we had Brooke as Jane from Tarzan, which was very stupid. Then we had Jillian as Brittany, and she dropped both babies on the floor. She had the thing. This was funny, and that needs to be seen too. This was pretty good. Brittany bashing, in my opinion. Then we had HBK versus Umaga. We picked between a steel cage match, street fight, of course, and a first blood match. The fans picked a street fight. Good that they did. This was a very good match. 3 3/4 stars in my opinion. I liked this a lot, even when I biased against Triple H. Umaga looked strong in this. There was a couple of really good spots. Just overall, just a really good match. Then they had the Halloween contest. Mickie James won. She didn't have the best costume in my opinion, but she looked hot, so oh well. Then we had the main event. JBL comes out, Foley comes out, Austin wins, huge landslide. No one's surprised by that, I'm sure. He stuns JBL. Then King replaces JBL on commentary, which was nice to see. Then we got Batista versus Undertaker. Every Batista match needs to be against Undertaker, because this Batista can wrestle for some reason. This was a great match. This was as good as their stuff from both Mania and Backlash. Definitely a 4-star match. Both guys went out there, busted their butts. It was very nice. They told a very nice story in the ring. I like this match. I dig this match. Overall, my feelings on the pay-per-view, I thought this was a moderately good pay-per-view, only because of the top card. I think some of the booking stuff did hurt it. I would give this a 7, but just barely. There you go. Better than most of the WWE stuff we have been seeing, but still not great stuff. And I'm out. Later.